All right, everybody, we are back, and today the topic is umbrella insurance. And no, it's not an umbrella against water. This is umbrella against all the stuff that you have worked so hard for. And so I am very, very excited to have Jessie Banuelos today of Farmers Insurance. She's going to talk to us about just the basics, really, about umbrella policies because there's so many myths out there and so much misinformation on these. And quite frankly, a lot of people don't even know what these are or that they even exist. So thank you very much for showing up today, Jessie. I appreciate it. I love your skyline in the back. Is that New York or Chicago? What is that?
It's actually Hong Kong.
That's Hong Kong? Okay. Neither. Okay. Cool. That's super, super nice. Have you been there?
Not yet.
So that is part of the bucket list picture in the back. Very nice. Very cool. So thank you very much again. So am I right that there's a ton of people out there don't even know what these are, correct?
That you are correct, Ed. Umbrella policies, a lot of people think umbrella means having all of your insurance with one insurance company. So you have your auto insurance and your home
Okay.
with AAA or State Farm or Farmers. And then you say, I have an umbrella because I'm with X company.
Got it.
So one of our goals as an insurance advisor is to always explain insurance limits and especially the value of the umbrella policy.
I see. Now, umbrella policy sounds so cachet and sounds expensive, right? I mean, just the sound of it sounds so, whoa, umbrella policy, right? Tell us first off, what is an umbrella policy and what are the different types? And then let's get into typical, like, I know everybody's different. It's like shoe sizes. Everybody's got a different situation, but dispel the myth about it being expensive because when I heard some of these prices, I'm like, what? This makes no sense for $1 million. So let's start out with the different, what is it? What's an umbrella policy and what are the different types?
Okay, so an umbrella policy typically is just an added layer of liability protection on top of your auto insurance, your home insurance, or if you own a boat, a motorcycle, a jet ski, an ATV, a rental property. So today we're going to talk about personal liability umbrella because if you're a business owner, that's business liability umbrella. It's a little bit different.
We'll talk about that next time then.
Sure.
The business part. Perfect.
Yeah, so it's an added layer of protection. It's an additional minimum $1 million additional protection, depending on your asset base and what's actually exposed. And when I say exposed, I mean your paycheck, the equity in your property, additional properties, cash in the bank, etc. So those are all assets that if you're in a severe auto accident or there's death on your property, like if you own a pool, or if you're a landlord and you wrongfully evict someone and there's a judgment placed against you, your primary auto limits or home liability limits will pay out, and then anything over and above that is either A, an out-of-pocket expense for you because you don't have an umbrella policy, or you've purchased an umbrella policy under the great advice of your insurance agent. And those policies can run as low as $250 a year.
What, a year?
Yeah. I mean, they're pretty inexpensive depending on the company. So I just did an umbrella policy this morning for a 76-year-old man who owns his auto and he owns his home. And, because he's an elder driver, their reactions are a little bit slower. So, they tend to have, auto accidents a little more frequently. They're a little bit of a higher exposure for the insurance companies. But if this gentleman was to hit a pedestrian, a bicyclist, a motorcyclist that's splitting lanes, or, he rear-ends someone, didn't see the stop sign, ran right through it, caused an accident. And if there's bodily injury in the auto accident, it's his fault, and his auto insurance only pays $250,000 for one person's injury, $500,000 for the accident. Anything over and above that would become an out-of-pocket expense for him. So worst case scenario is you hit a pedestrian, a bicyclist, or even motorcyclist, and they survive the accident. They've hit the pavement, and now they're left with severe brain injury, which is lifelong injury. What is the potential loss that could be attributed to the negligent driver, right? So let's say, for example, it's someone like myself. I'm a business owner. The primary breadwinner of my family. I have an adult disabled child that I'm financially responsible for his care and otherwise. And so if, say, for example, I was hit as the pedestrian and I sustained severe bodily injury, I'm no longer able to run my business. I'm no longer able to earn income. I'm no longer able to care for my disabled son. In addition to that, I have medical expenses, rehab expenses, et cetera, et cetera. We're talking hundreds of thousands, into the millions of dollars that, who knew, right? Here I am, just this ordinary person crossing the street, especially because we live in the Bay Area. We have a lot of people who are very high earners, just think in San Francisco, all these tech workers, right? Silicon Valley, all these tech workers, they're making 6 figures easily. So, if we injure one of those people, say we get into an accident and accidentally hit them, or even, where they're in a car and we rear end them and they sustain bodily injury, we're on the hook for their loss of income, for their medical expenses, any kind of surgeries, any rehab, and any potential loss of, value of life, right? And so umbrella policy is that added layer of protection. What we like to tell people is it's like having an attorney on retainer, right? Because if you get into an accident and you don't have enough insurance, what do you have to do? You have to go hire an attorney.
That's right.
An attorney, what's the cost per hour, right? Is it
$250? A lot, especially in these neck of the woods.
Right. Is it $450 an hour? Is it
right
$650 an hour? And so for the small cost of the umbrella, you've got this $1 million protection in your back pocket. And, you have your attorney already on retainer, because if you bought a farmer's insurance umbrella, we've got a legal team that is going to be assigned to your case. And so then they're going to litigate the loss for you. And unfortunately, in today's times, we have more umbrella claims open now than we did 5 years ago.
So there's more awareness about umbrella policies, obviously, then, having said that.
There's more awareness, right? And because the cost of medical, continues to go up, right? So when was the last time you visited the ER? We had a farmer's insurance agent here in Ville making a bank deposit at the ATM, cross the street to go get into his car, and someone blew through the stop sign and hit him, right? The person that hit him had minimum state bodily injury limits, $15,000. $15,000. ER visit was a 5-hour. Luckily, he wasn't, he was severely injured, but not to the point where he had a long hospital stay. But his ER visit alone was $55,000, right? So, this guy that hit him had $15,000 in bodily injury limits, right? And so now, he's going to be sued. And so then, the normal person will say, well, if he has 15,000 limits, obviously he doesn't own assets. Well, your paycheck is an asset. So if you're in an uninsured accident, underinsured accident, the courts will come after you and garnish your paycheck.
That's a great statement, that people don't think about their paycheck as that's literally the biggest asset, because without that, you got nothing.
Yeah. And that asset, your paycheck, can be garnished for up to 10 years and up to 30% of your wages.
So up to 30% and up to 10 years.
And if you're married, you and your spouse.
Yeah. Community property state.
Right. So when we're looking at what is somebody's exposure, even though they don't own a home, we take 30% of their gross income and multiply that, 30% of their annual gross income and multiply that by 10 years. That's your minimum exposure, right? So if you're making $100,000 a year, 30%, 30,000 times 10 years, 300,000. So, your auto limits might be 30,000, 50,000, 100,000, or 250,000 per person for bodily injury. If you have 300,000 exposed, you're still underinsured at $250,000.
So that's the formula that you use, and those are minimums, obviously.
Right. Yeah. So, umbrella is just, a policy that we offer to every single client. So we get asked all the time, well, who do you normally want to purchase an umbrella, or who do you talk to about umbrella? I say
Everyone.
everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Literally. Now, tell
And
me a little bit
whether,
about how does the umbrella policy pan out when it comes to a home?
sure. So two different scenarios that come to mind is one, so if we have bodily injury or death on property, so if you have a pool, you need an umbrella policy. Absolutely. Accidental drownings happen all the time. And if, I'm sure you've heard in the past, there's been claims where the deck gave way and people fell through a deck. Or, there was one of the steps wasn't exactly, maybe the wood on the step or the step wasn't exactly level and someone fell. And, we actually had a lady who fell face forward and broke her jaw. She's an elderly lady, but, that was a very traumatic injury, many surgeries, and that's a big lawsuit, right? So, I mean, just imagine someone trips over your water hose or trips on the step that you meant to fix, but you hadn't gotten around to it, the hand railing that you meant to get stable, but you hadn't gotten around to it, and there's an accident, there's an injury, unintentional, of course. And then with landlords, if we have a landlord that has a policy that, one, hopefully has personal injury coverage, which is tort liability, which is wrongful eviction, wrongful entry, etc. But if it's absent of that coverage, the umbrella policy then typically will have what we call a drop-down coverage. So there's no primary coverage, so the umbrella drops to the floor. There is a deductible that the insured would have to pay if they have the umbrella policy in place. But at the very minimum, there's defense costs included. So, defense.
Oh, defense cost is included. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And defense costs are typically outside of the limit. So the defense costs will not deplete the limit of umbrella coverage.
So it's sort of kind of like just a separate component of it.
Yes.
Oh, and
Yeah.
there are a certain amount of hours? Is that how it does?
No, there's no limit
Okay.
to the defense cost because it's outside of the limit. So that's important when you're talking to your insurance agent, is to clarify, is defense inside the limit, which would diminish the liability coverage, or is defense outside of the limit, which does not affect the liability coverage. So these are all the nuances that we talk to our clients about every day.
Great nuances to cover.
Yeah, and umbrellas are, in 2018 and 2019 in my district, I was the top umbrella agent. It's such a small cost for the policy, but I believe in the value of it so much. The first year that I was in business, I think I sold in 6 months, probably over between 80 and 90 umbrella policies to a client base that was already here. And then in 2019, I think I almost hit 200 umbrella policies.
Okay.
And
so I'm talking to the right person then. I love it.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you know what? Look, this has been super insightful. I had no idea even about the additional services that come with it, like you just mentioned. Very, very insightful. So I appreciate it. So my final question is, how do people get a hold of you, Jessie?
Yeah, so I have a really great team. In addition to myself, I have 4 licensed insurance agents that work with me. So, best way to get a hold of us, we love to talk to people on the phone. So you can always call our office. We also have a website that you can inquire. Obviously email if, some people don't like to talk or go online, so they can always email us. Yeah. They can give us a call at 925-258-1010. They can visit our website at jbi-advisors.com, which is Jessie Banuelos Insurance Advisors. Or they can always send me an email. And my email address is jbanuelos@farmersagent.com. And
well, there you go.
To get back to you and anxious to talk to people about umbrellas.
Yeah, you've always been very, very responsive. So there you go, folks. You heard it here first. You should call her, even if you don't, or even if you do have an umbrella policy and you just want to get a review to see if it's up to date or if it's adequate for the amount of coverage that you need. I strongly recommend that you contact her as soon as you finish watching this video. So thank you very much, Jessie. And the next one we're going to talk about umbrella policies for business folks. Right. So tune into that. All right. Have a great day. And thanks again. Take care, everybody.